Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone. So, welcome to Connect Africa. So, we are back again. This week, you are seeing us Monday, Tuesday, and just a second, a little technical. Yeah, I hear my echo because my YouTube channel was open. Yeah, so and 3 day, actually 4 days in a row, starting from Sunday. So because that's how you can tell the continent has been so dynamic. Uh,
Busy.
yeah, so busy. And tonight, even as you can see, I'm not at home, so I am tuning from a different place. I am hosting this. Welcome, Kume. I can't wait, and really, I can't even grasp what happened today. What an inconsistency in South Africa and by the South African government that President Putin is not attending the summit. Welcome and thank you for your time, really, to spare a time, unexpectedly, but you decided also to come here. Yeah, welcome and greetings. How do you feel?
Yeah, I really feel really a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't feel very happy when I heard that President Putin was, not coming for the summit, for the Brics summit in South Africa. I got sort of felt that we are being bullied, like the African continent is being bullied, and it is submitting to that pressure because, of course, when we analyzed yesterday South Africa's situation, we saw that it was under a lot of pressure, tremendous pressure, and from a country actually which is trying to use the ICC to bully Africa. And that country is not part of the ICC, it's not a signatory to the ICC. The United States is not a signatory to the ICC. But even with that, it wants to still advance and push its colonialism towards Africa and show us that we are a colony. The African continent is a colony. So I just wanted to see a little bit more from the ANC, the governing body in South Africa, a little bit of, to put up a little bit more resistance because they have been putting up good rhetoric. The rhetoric had been very, good recently, that they try to defend the continent and make a stand. Because if you look at, there is a lot of aggression that the United States has been doing across the world. So this is like a little bit like allowing the United States to have its way, that if you can go to Iraq and kill 1 million people, no one will give a damn. But when it feels that another person is doing it, then that is, everyone should support the United States in condemning. And I think that is a little bit hypocritical, and I think we need to be a little bit more principled as a people, as Africans. If we have something which we have agreed on, we have to put a foot down, even if it means coming out of the ICC itself. If you look at the case of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto, when they were being dragged to the ICC, they mobilized the continent, they mobilized the African Union. I think this was easier to do for South Africa, to mobilize the African Union, because when they mobilized the continent against the ICC, the cases were dropped. And this is not the first time. Even President Bashir has ever come to South Africa, and they wanted to arrest him. The ICC wanted to arrest him, and South Africa refused. So this was not the first time. I think they should have held a little bit more ground.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I felt too. And trust me, in the back of my head, a little percent, like less than 10%, is still hoping that he might attend and that it will be a surprise for us. They're just doing it for kind of for media stunt. So what does
Yeah.
let's get into it and say, what does this mean for the future of Brics? Every time that an imperialist country come and bully you, that you start to bend. What does that mean? What kind of message it signals?
No, it's difficult. It's difficult now that, of course, the global South, majority of the global South has put a lot of trust in Brics, and the rest of the world may lose hope in us as Africans, because they may say that Africans are not holding their ground. They're not holding their side of the bargain, and they are being bullied and they are accepting. It doesn't paint a very good picture for us, and other people who want actually to join the Brics may look at it as also not principled. They cannot put down their foot, and all that may fall on Africa, because South Africa currently is representing the African continent. So, others may look at Brics as a weak organization that is not able to hold its ground, and of course that is what the United States wants. It wants to dismantle, like we mentioned yesterday, and we analyzed that the United States is bent on destroying Brics because it fears the Brics currency, that it will decimate the dollar, and of course it will lead to the process of acceleration of the total decline of the United States. They want to slow that process down, so they are doing everything they can to do that sabotaging of the Brics and destroy it. So I think Brics still has a future, has a very bright future, because we have China and Russia. They are still standing strong. And if it was a strategic move on the side of the ANC, is possible also. That one is also possible. But I think Brics, it may shock a little bit, especially for people from the South. But I think Brics still has a very bright future, and they will be able to overcome the challenge.
Yeah, I do agree that on the 2 points, South Africa being firm, especially that now that it's a country that represents the whole continent, who has that membership, and then the fact that the team is about Africa for this Brics 2023. But let me bring a different question. Now, what does this mean for the ANC itself, which is the ruling party in South Africa, for it? Because there's a second popular party, which is the Democratic Alliance, which once took the ANC to court because ANC have been allowing, and so far up until this minute, up until today, that they were telling us that Putin, President Putin he's immune and he will attend, not to tell him not to attend the summit, was declaring war. All those kinds of strong and powerful statements. So what does this mean for the relation between the two parties? Do you think now that they support, because the Democratic Alliance supports that Putin not attending, is this a victory for them? What does it tell us?
Yeah, actually, partially it is a victory for the Democratic Alliance of South Africa as a political party, and also it is, you can call it a temporary victory for imperialism and United States. It's imperialism and colonialism. It is a temporary victory for now and Democratic Alliance. You remember yesterday when we were talking about the challenges which South Africa is facing, we mentioned that Democratic Alliance is a Trojan horse, not only in South Africa, but also for the African continent. You remember the apartheid regime used to use that government used to base in South Africa and come and interfere in majority of the Southern African countries. For example, Zimbabwe and all Namibia and up to Angola, even the Democratic Republic of Congo, to extract resources. Those are the routes which the apartheid regime and the colonial regime used to use. So the Democratic Alliance actually is a very dangerous organization in South Africa. And if I was ANC, I would put a more serious eye on it and try to destroy it, and remove it completely, because it only pays allegiance to colonialism, and that's why you are seeing that it was so bent on. It is even bent on destroying the whole South Africa so that the whites can gain an upper hand, because they want to protect the interests of imperialism, and so they always appeal for help to, of course, to the United States and Europe, so that they can help them, and that is where they get their funding from, majority of their funding from. So it is a Trojan horse which is very dangerous, and ANC, I think, as an organization, has to really step up its game. I know it has been engaging on the continent, but it has to intensify that effort. And Democratic Alliance as an organization has to be looked at as a very dangerous organization to the interests of the Africans in South Africa itself and also on the continent, because it looks like imperialism wants to remove ANC and bring in the Democratic Alliance. So if I was the ANC, I would finance organizations like the Pan-African Congress, which is an old party and is strong on Pan-Africanism, and I would find a way of working with the Economic Fighters League to be able to weaken and completely destroy the Democratic Alliance in South Africa, because it's a very dangerous organization.
Thank you, Kwame. Just to know, for my curiosity, so EFF ranks where in the popularity of the parties in South Africa?
Yeah, in the popularity, EFF is at number 3. It's the third largest. Yeah, it's only that it has Malema, who is very vocal, and they are very, sort of loud in that aspect. So they look like they are the second biggest party, but they are the third biggest party right now. Democratic Alliance is the one which is the second, and majority of the whites and Indians and other so-called colored people, they subscribe to that party. It is actually the party of the rich and the Western people.
Let me do a follow-up question to that. I mean, we all know that Julius Malema, who is the president of EFF, have been very vocal that supporting President Putin has to participate, has to attend, and there's no talk of ICC, and he even wants South Africa to withdraw from ICC. Now, do you think that now it will help EFF to get the popularity more than the ANC itself, now that ANC is kind of bending down?
Yeah, so I think EFF is on the same line when it comes to foreign policy with South Africa, and both of them are on the same page. Unlike Democratic Alliance doesn't have the interests of the Africans. It has the interests of the capitalists who control the economy currently. They are the ones who are financing it, and it has the interests of colonialism in the country. So it doesn't have any interests of the Africans, even though these things may be, they may talk about the economy, they may talk about this and that, but they are representatives of a minority in the country. So of course, EFF, all of us would want it to gain ground, but I think they have to find a way of working together with the ANC. And the Pan-African Congress, and give some leverage, to the Pan-African Congress.
Now, South Africa has already expressed its interest to withdraw from ICC, and at the same time supporting that, or saying President Putin will attend. But now that statement, that stance has been changed today, even for South Africa, who seemed, or who is actually still very powerful, very Pan-African, at least we observed that under this leadership. And what does this say for, other African countries who has been dragged and bullied and, their name defamed by the ICC? Do you think that if South Africa now, such a powerful country, who was not Africa, who was telling it like it is kind of bending down, what kind of message does it send for those who are in line and still wanted by ICC?
I think that we as Africans, on one side, I think that we are not doing really a very good job. There's a guy who's called Rutendo Mutinyarare. He always says that the Zimbabwean government, it has achieved a lot. It has achieved a lot of things, looking at the growth of the economy, considering the fact that the country is under sanctions. Zimbabwe has been growing actually very well, up to almost 5% every year. So it has not been able to publicize these achievements. So we are not using some of the resources which we have very well. So this is what I see also with South Africa and the ANC in particular. You have the things which you can talk about. The ICC can be attacked as a racist organization. That is the tactic which was used by, because this is politics. And actually this is real, because these guys are trying to bully the Africans, but they don't bully the United States. They were not able to bully the United States. They didn't bully Britain and bring Blair, and Britain is a signatory. The UK is a signatory to the ICC, but Blair was never, arrested. And these people, they killed a million people in Iraq and Afghanistan. They killed numerous, hundreds of thousands of people. Libya, they killed hundreds of thousands of people. The ICC has never issued any arrest warrant for, for Blair, Tony Blair. So I think that the ANC here, when it comes to publicity, has not done a good job. That it should have used this rhetoric. Maybe they don't want. What I'm seeing is that on one side they are hesitant to start a war, with the West, and of course because of economic reasons, which we mentioned, that the South African economy is dominated by Western corporations, and so it be a little bit painful. But I don't see why they don't want to put up this fight, because if you declared in the country that we have a national emergency, the country or the military is taking over, or in some way you should announce that there's a national emergency. Use all the media you have and mobilize the country that we have a situation which is, unbearable. And so we have to act in a certain strong way. And I think there's a lot of tools that can be used, but the ICC itself is a racist organization which is mostly against Africans and always bent on bullying people who are not Anglo-Saxons, who are not from Europe, and who are not white. It is bent on always bullying them. So I think these are all tools which can be used, because these are facts. They are not even just propaganda, but they are facts which are on the ground. That everyone, this is how has been, all of Africans have been seeing the ICC in this manner, starting with what happened to President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto. When they used these tactics, the ICC immediately dropped the charges against them. And it is because Africa stood behind. During that period, both of them mobilized the African Union and the African continent. The African Union actually stood behind them. I think these are tools which are available, but the ANC, I think, has not used these tools. And that is very unfortunate.
Indeed, very unfortunate. This might relate to it. It's my last question. Do you think, is there anything that the ANC or South Africa has not used really to make this happen? For example, you mentioned it a little in the beginning, not mobilizing enough the African countries behind it, or the African Union. Is there anything that's left for them to do to save this?
Of course, yes, of course, all these tools I've mentioned, they are available to them. They can use them if they want to. They can mobilize the African Union. They have seen that the African Union, whenever it has been mobilized, it has been delivering. And President Ramaphosa has been hosting all these leaders and visiting all these countries. He has very good relations, even with Nana Addo, these people who seem friendly to the West, people like Nana Addo, he's friendly with them. Museveni, when you go to all the East, the South, all of it, all these countries majority of them are in favor of South Africa. Actually, South Africa is in a good position in the majority of the continent. So majority of countries on the African continent. So this is something which should be used, mobilize the African continent, so that by the time these people, attack you, it will look like it is an attack on the African continent, and all Africa's consciousness will be woken up. And of course, China will be on the other side also to support you. Brazil is also on the other side, will be able to support you, even if India doesn't support you. But these at least these three countries, if they support you, I think you should be able to stand up against any bullying of the United States. Because at this point, we have seen that the behavior of the United States has irritated everyone across the globe, and it is isolated. You see, so it is only itself and its European allies are isolated on the global stage. So we cannot continue to allow them and give them an opportunity to be bullies, because they are bullying, but we are the ones who are giving them the platform on which to stand and continue the bullying. And how are we doing that? Because we refuse to stand in one position on one principled, in one principled position and say this is where we're standing. We cannot move. If it is the ICC, it wants to do whatever it can do. Let it do whatever it can do, but we are not going to arrest President Putin. I mean, what is the United States going to do? The United States, we said, is not a signatory to this organization. What is it going to do? It's the one which is putting a lot of pressure. You see, so it is not a signatory because it doesn't want, its citizens, its people to be arrested. When the prosecutor of the ICC was trying to open a case into George Bush and all the crimes that were committed in Afghanistan, they said that they will not allow the prosecutor to come to the United States. They will cancel her visa because she was opening a case to investigate the crimes of the United States. So it's the same United States which doesn't want to be investigated by the ICC is using the ICC, and it's not a signatory. It's trying to use the ICC to pressure South Africa that is a signatory, so it should abide by the ICC. This is hypocritical. This is the hypocritical, thinking that these people hold. And this, I mean, to some extent, you have to blame South Africa that it has not used the tools which are available to say that, look, here, you guys are not signatories. What are you talking about? You have no right even to talk about the ICC and its application of laws, because you people have been even violating the United Nations Charter on Human Rights and killing over 1 million people. You don't care about human rights. I mean, these are all tools that we are not using. You find that African media is just in the corner, just keeping quiet when all these crimes are being committed and all this bullying is being committed, and yet we have the media all across the African continent. So this is what is very unfortunate. I mean, on our side, it's sort of like we don't have people who are patriotic towards the African continent in the media, that all of them, they are sort of like they have been brainwashed not even to understand that the continent belongs to them. They are supposed to fight for it. Instead, majority of the media is always regurgitating, always parroting what the West is saying. And of course, this is unfortunate, and we have to change this. We have to change this. We as Africans, we have to change this. And the governments themselves, I think we have to push them to move in the direction which favors the African people.
Thank you very much indeed. We have seen South African-based big media platforms, no need to mention name, but we have seen observers that pulling left and right ANC and talking and, echoing basically what the Western media have been saying and asking why he's participating. But yeah, there is a lot to do, and we are here doing our part. So that is it for us today. We just decided to be online quickly because this issue cannot be passed. We just talked about South Africa, about President Ramaphosa and Brics on Monday championing, and yesterday about Ruto, because we believe that such leaders need to be championed, needs to be supported. So we did our part on this little Pan-African media platform that we have. Just doing our duty and obligation. So you all have to do now, go out and share this video. And please, I know that you have been here, but in the comments, in the chat section, I'm not seeing you that much. I only see Fred Bantu, who said, "Greetings, South Africa folded." South Africa folded. They were just grandstanding. They signed the ICC deal. The ICC is just another tactic to control Black people. Westerners are incapable of creating fair, humanistic institutions. So, but we hear you. Please, because we are not here for long, comment in the comment section. Let's hear what your view is. I know you got the information. Now we want to hear so that we can take this discussion further and give it more time. But for today, that was it for us. Really, thank you very much, Kwame, for being here and even for initiating in the last minute. Let's do this. So thank you. So we will see you again on our weekly session on tomorrow, actually Thursday. Until then, so bye, Kwame.
Bye.
Ciao.